I've never been so excited to taste something in my life. Okay. Mm-hmm. What's up, guys? It's your girl, Millie Pearcher here. I'm back in the Food 52 studio to make a super easy Southern brunch staple, biscuits and gravy. The beautiful thing about these biscuits, there's no rolling, and we use all pantry ingredients. I use self-rising flour. I'm using about 2 cups of that, but if you do not have self-rising flour, feel free to substitute 2 cups of all-purpose flour, adding 1 tablespoon of baking powder and a ½ teaspoon or so of salt. So I'm pretty sure you guys heard this story before from me, but I'm gonna tell it again. The first time I made biscuits was for Thanksgiving. I wanna say during my college years. We don't have to say my age. But anyway, I made these biscuits and I was rolling them and kneading them and doing everything you're not supposed to do with the biscuit. And my Aunt Marie was like, these biscuits are hard as hockey pucks. And since then, I've never really made a rolled biscuit, but this is one of those biscuit recipes that you can just take from the bowl, drop it into a skillet or a sheet pan, and you're gonna have perfect biscuits every single time. So we have our 2 cups of self-rising flour in our bowl. I gave you the instructions for substituting for AP flour, and we're going to grate frozen butter directly into this bowl. Takes a little bit of elbow grease or butter grease, whatever you want to call it. It's a good way to get your workout in since we're eating biscuits and gravy. Nice to burn some calories ahead of time, right? And as you grate this, make sure you have some good music on. You know, if you're gonna make this recipe on a Sunday, make sure you don't play that worldly music before 12. My churchy people know what I'm talking about, okay? I never understood that. Was your mother like that? Like 12:15 is gonna make it any better. And then we couldn't play rap music on Sundays. We could play R&B. Sitting there listening to I Wanna Sex You Up on a Sunday. But wouldn't Dear Mama, Tupac work better than H-Town Knocking the Boots? Just saying. It's not going in here because I'm not gonna cut myself. Okay, so we have most of it. But the best part about this little nub that we have left over, just throw it in your skillet, or you can melt it to brush on top of your biscuits. So now that we have our butter and our flour, we're just going to combine it until we get the coarse peas. And look at how quickly we got the coarse peas. See how simple this is? 3 ingredient biscuits. Okay, so we have our coarse peas and the butter is still cold. So I'm not gonna manipulate this too much because we wanna keep that butter cold. And now I'm gonna create a little well and I'm gonna add some buttermilk, a little at a time. So I'm at about a 1/4 cup and see where it lands us. Use my spoon. And again, we're using all cold products. So this buttermilk is super cold out the refrigerator. And we're just gonna add enough buttermilk until this all comes together. Yep, and we're here. So you see how it comes together in the bowl? I use a little more than 3/4 of a cup. So now that we have our biscuit batter, it came together beautifully. Remember that little nub of butter we had left over? We greased our skillet with it because we're not gonna waste anything. And now we're gonna take our scoop and drop some biscuits. And if you don't have, this is about a 1/4 cup scoop. You can make them bigger or smaller. You can use 2 spoons, use whatever you have. Oh, these are pretty. I'm working in a cast iron skillet, but if you have a baking sheet with some parchment paper, feel free to use that as well. Now that we have our biscuits scooped into our cast iron skillet, we can pop it into a preheated 425-degree oven for about 20 to 25 minutes. So here's the thing about biscuits. You heard what I said, 20 to 25 minutes. So for a minimum of 20 minutes, you are gonna keep this in the oven. Do not peek into the oven, okay? Instructions, listen to what I'm saying. Do not peek into the oven. You will let the steam out. We want light, fluffy, and airy biscuits. So please do not be nosy. You know what you're making already. If somebody smells something in your house, let them know what you're making. No need for anybody to open this oven. We got it? Instructions? Let's do it. Cause you know, you have to tell the people, child. Somebody was in here with some easy off. Not that it was nasty last time, cause it wasn't, but I'm just saying. So while our biscuits are baking, we're gonna get into our sausage gravy. So the beautiful thing about this recipe is it all comes together in 30 minutes or less, depending on your oven, of course. But biscuits are still in the oven, we're gonna get into our onion. So we have our saute pan. We're gonna get some oil in there. You can use olive oil, vegetable oil, whatever you have. Okay. And we're gonna take our onion and we're gonna sweat this out. Hear the sizzle. Hear the sizzle. All right, so we have our oil in the pan, we have our onions, we're gonna add a little bit of salt. We're gonna sweat her out. We're sweating our onions with some salt, but during this time, we're gonna also add our seasoning. So we're gonna add some poultry seasoning, cayenne pepper, and some garlic powder. Totally use fresh garlic if you want. I'm using powder, and this is the time where we're actually gonna bloom our spices. And this is the time where, you know, it just starts to smell like something. You're not telling people what's on the menu just yet, but they just gonna come down there and start looking, and you're gonna say, don't ask me how long it's gonna be. It's ready when it's ready. I'm so mean when I cook. Oh, isn't she lovely? Oh, pretty. I'm not gonna eat one, I'm gonna try not to. But you see how crispy and crunchy, you see like these little nooks and crannies? This is giving me English muffin vibes. So when we put that gravy on top of these biscuits, they're gonna get inside that tender, flaky buttermilk biscuit. And then we're gonna get a good mouthfeel of creamy, salty, buttery, crispy, crunchy. Y'all see where I'm going with it, right? Okay, let's get back into this gravy. So now that we sweated out our onions, we're gonna add our ground turkey. Feel free to use ground chicken. If you're a vegan, feel free to use mushrooms, but of course you're going to adjust your biscuit recipe as well. May not use buttermilk or milk. You can use a plant-based yogurt, or you can use plant-based milk. But this is a nice hearty recipe. So now that we cooked all of the pink out of our turkey, I'm gonna add about a tablespoon or so of unsalted butter. And it just gives it that extra bit of my favorite word, unctuousness, that fat, that creaminess, that succulentness. Oh my goodness, already. I'm gonna add that in there, and then we're gonna throw in some flour. And what are we doing now? Creating a roux. We cooked out the flour for about 30 seconds to a minute or so, just to get that raw taste out. We're gonna add some chicken stock. And if you don't have chicken stock, you can use a combination of water with bouillon, but I would reserve the salt if you know that you're gonna use bouillon, only because bouillon is very salty. And now we're gonna add some milk to this. Again, if you don't have milk, you can use heavy cream, you can use half and half, use whatever you have on hand. Okay, so now that our gravy is nice and thick, we're gonna go in for the taste. Oh, absolutely delicious. We're gonna add a pinch more salt. And of course, no sausage gravy is complete without that cracked pepper at the end. We added some spice already, but it's a different type of spice. Cayenne adds heat, that cracked black pepper adds a little bit of kick. So we have heat and kick, two different types of spice. And because no meal is complete without some bright freshness at the end, I like to add some fresh parsley. Now, I've seen a lot of you guys like that dried parsley. It's okay, but there's nothing wrong with fresh herbs at the end. There's nothing like it. Okay, that's cool. Ooh, that look good. Okay, that's it. Okay guys, the moment of truth. We have our buttermilk drop biscuits. We have our creamy sausage gravy. And let's just get to it. Let's just build this daggone thing. And of course, we always make sure our hands are clean because I'm gonna stick my hand right in here. So I'm gonna make one for me. One for me. Let's make one for you too, okay? Because growing up in my household, you do not eat unless you have enough to share, right? Okay, so we have our biscuits and our gravy. Oh my goodness, so good. Look how chunky that is. This eats like a meal. It is a meal, right? Put some more gravy on this one. Okay, Look at how easy this came together. It was minimalistic. We used all pantry ingredients. This is a wonderful way to get rid of some leftover poultry you have in the refrigerator from like a meatloaf or, some meatballs. You had some extra protein left over. And we are just going to dig into this. We have our biscuits made with all pantry ingredients, and we have our homemade sausage gravy. So I talked enough. Let's get to eating. I've never been so excited to taste something in my life. Tender biscuits. Okay. Oh, wait. Wait. All right, I'm definitely gonna finish this, but let's recap and get into what we did. You taste the tangy buttermilk from these biscuits. As you can see, they're light, fluffy, and airy inside, and they're sopping up all of this spicy sausage gravy that we created. We taste pepper from our crushed black pepper. We have the heats from the cayenne, the poultry seasoning, which has everything in it. It has salt, it has thyme, it has so many wonderful flavors, and then we also taste the garlic. It's very important that you bloom the spices because it comes out in this recipe. It's super easy, it's super simple, and I'm hoping that you try this for your next Southern-inspired brunch. But I'm curious to know, what would you like for me to make next? Drop it in the comments, and I'll see you guys again soon. Happy eating.